From the Middle is proud to be a founding member of OddPods Media. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode number 243 of From the Middle. My name is Kendall. I'm joined by the brothers Dillon and Kory Hubel. And we are three middle-class guys living in the middle of America, middle chapters of our lives, point of view. It's in the middle. And point is, we're glad that you're here. If this is your first episode, we want to just tell you, hey, we want to make sure that you're aware. You're welcome here. This is a safe place. There's no judgment. Mainly because it's a one-way conversation. Let that percolate. No, we would love to hear from you. We promise not to make fun of you too much. And you can go on all of our socials or whatever. I'm sure there's a description box at the bottom of whatever player you're listening to this in, and it's going to have a LinkTree, and you can use that LinkTree. You can text us, send us voice messages, join our Facebook group or page or any of the other things. Dillon is on top of making sure we have that stuff. We're a comedy and culture podcast, and we're talking about all kinds of fun things today, including what do we talk about? Pete and Sebastian. Instead of stealing our ideas, we gave them their idea this time around. We're talking about hockey games, some ethic questions. Wow, this is horrible. Etiquette questions. I think there was an ethic question in there too. We're watching the SAG Awards. We're watching things on Netflix. We're watching Dumb Money. We're watching WWE. We're watching Love on the Spectrum, plus all of the other things that come out of that. Lots going on here, folks. We hope you enjoy it. Here we go.
Oh, for the love. Sorry, just clearing my Mountain Dew hole.
I got my phone hole cleaned today.
That's where you keep it? You're so cerebral and you're so developed and evolved.
From the middle after dark over here.
I think it got to over 60 degrees Fahrenheit today. The sun
Didn't it?
was shining. The birds were chirping. Everyone in the neighborhood was out walking dogs, kids playing basketball. It was a beautiful day, gentlemen.
I hate it. Just kidding. It was beautiful for real. We went out and got some groceries. We went out to get groceries. There was no rain for my grocery bags, just all sunshine. And I didn't even have to wear a coat or a hoodie this time. So just got to rock my winter belly and go out, show everyone what I've been up to.
You wore a shirt, right?
Yeah, right.
To the grocery store.
Right.
I think we still have that policy here in Ohio anyway.
Yeah, most of the time, most places. But you're right, it was beautiful. And lots of dog walking out today. I saw lots of people in their probably Christmas workout gear that they got for the holidays that they haven't had a chance to wear outdoors yet. So it was nice.
Yeah, you're rocking the winter belly, and I've got 2 or 3 eyebrow hairs that have just gone, nope, we're doing our own thing, and are just 3 times as long as their siblings and just all over the proverbial map. And I kind of like them. I think I'm just going to keep trying to get them to fall in line. But like, I always used to look at really old guys, old farmers, old blue collar guys with long nose hairs and ear hairs, and goes, do you not have anybody in your life that can tell you, how crazy that is? And I'm like, maybe I never considered that maybe they just liked them and they kept them as little pets.
They took pride. They took pride in those rogue hairs. You know what I mean? That's what gave them that kind of adventurous spirit after those days had died. There was those little hairs, those little rogue one-offs. Yeah.
I tell you who I appreciate the hell out of, and that is Ray the barber, my guy. Yeah. It wasn't until Ray, and Ray has been the first and only barber that's been like my guy, right? I've always used to just be like a walk in, I'll take whoever's ready.
Yep.
Until Ray. And then now it's like I see him all the time. And I tell you what, when I'm like leaning back in the barber chair and he's like going after the beard and stuff, like he'll get the trimmer out and he's like lining up the edges of the beard. And then if he sees nose hairs, he'll just go ahead and like corner of the trimmer, just go ahead and knock those down.
Boom, boom.
He doesn't do it every time, just when it needs done. He's knocked my eyebrows back a few times. Again, not every time. Like, he doesn't make me have to ask for it. I've never asked for it before. I probably wasn't old enough to need it. Like, cut something off my ear, cut the eyebrows back. Just
doesn't make you feel self-conscious about it. Just
he doesn't even mention it. Like, it surprises me. Like, if my eyes are closed, because he's like on the front of my face doing stuff. And ever since our one episode that we did with him, which we need to do another one, ever since our one episode with him, where he had said, where we asked him about barber etiquette, like what do you hate that customers do when they come in? One of the things was like, if I'm in front of your face, just close your eyes. Like, I don't want eye contact. Like, that's weird and awkward. Just close your eyes. And so I do now. And then I'll feel like sometimes he laughs at me because like the clippers hit a spot that I wasn't expecting. And I jump a little bit because he was going after the eyebrows or into the nose and I wasn't expecting it or something. But shout out to Ray the Barber.
Shout out to Ray the Barber. Go back, listen to episode number 145, our hang with Ray the Barber. I ended up going and seeing him for quite a while after that. And now he does the traveling thing where he'll come to you. And and so anyway, great I wonder if he's rocking the Western look.
Not yet, but he's getting there.
He's getting there. He's got to build up the wardrobe first. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Well, speaking of guys we love, I have some really exciting news. You guys knew last week when we recorded that this was going to be happening, but I support a few comedians / podcasters on Patreon. Bad Friends, Chris D'Elia, and the Pete and Sebastian show. Well, in the Patreon feed, Pete and Sebastian said that they were going to be doing a live podcast only for Patreon members. I didn't know what that meant. Is this like we're going to be on video, or there's going to be like a waiting room where if your question is worthy enough, you get to pop on camera and they get to see you and you get to interact with them 1-on-2? Is this going to be just like a YouTube live where people are just in the chat trying to get their questions and comments and stuff answered? I didn't know, but I was excited. This was Tuesday of last week. So I joined the podcast. It ended up being the latter, a YouTube live in Sebastian's studio in California, in LA. They've been doing this thing lately where Pete will fly out and they'll record 4 or 5, have a bunch of guests, and then he flies home. And so that's kind of been because they believe, and I tend to agree, that being together in a room when you're podcasting is the preferred way to do it. The dynamics are different. The rapport is different. The laughter is different. It's a different vibe. So Pete flies out there all the way from Fredonia. They record a bunch of episodes. They have some very, very, very exciting guests coming up. Andy Garcia, who they've wanted for a really long time because of his roles in some pretty epic Italian mafioso type films, is just one of many. Jay Leno. There's some interesting guests coming onto the show. Anyway, back to the Patreon only live podcast. So they post the link at the very last second of where to go for the feed. And then they say, we're watching your comments in the chat. On that post in Patreon, people started commenting and putting questions in there. And then over on the YouTube live, that chat was going very fast. The producers said that between both the post on Patreon that people were commenting on for questions and the YouTube chat, that there was about 500 Patreon members chiming in and watching live. So it was a very busy chat. Mm-hmm. They just start like doing their thing where they're warming up and they're catching up with one another, and the chat is firing. Like, people are like, this is awesome. Just like, you can't even read the comments. They're going through the chat so quickly, right?
Yeah.
Then it starts to slow down, and Sebastian even says, guys, we see your comments in the chat. We'll get to them shortly. Pete and I just have to catch up for a bit. So it kind of quiets down and slows down for a bit. This whole time I'm thinking, like, what am I going to ask on behalf of From the Middle? Like I got to ask something. I got to get myself out there, but I also don't want to spam the chat and be that guy, right? So I think one of the most fun social etiquette questions that we've done in a really long time was when we asked last week, if you're going to meet friends and family at a fast casual or fast food restaurant and somebody brings in food from an outside restaurant, is that tacky? Is that trashy? That was Dillon's idea. So I was like, that's it. That'll be the question I ask. So here's how dorky I am. Anytime Pete and Sebastian start sort of like slowing down with their banter, I get the question ready in chat because it's almost real time. There's very little delay, if any. It might be a second or two. And then anytime I saw Sebastian, because he was really the one driving most of it and doing a lot of the facilitation, anytime I see him look over to the monitor, I hit enter because I'm like, I want mine to be right there, but it was already cut and pasted from having typed it out earlier, right?
Right.
But I also didn't want to spam and have the chat be mad at me that I was like, I was doing that. So I maybe entered it 8, 9, 10 times total in the hour. And then at the very end, he sees my question, he reads it on the air. And that's where I will leave you until we can get the clip. So Sebastian and Pete answered Dillon's question from last week. I'm so excited for you guys to see the video and to hear it. They had a perfect response, just like two professional comedians would. And it was a lot of fun to participate in something like that. After they asked one, I'm like, well, now I'm feeling lucky. I'm going to see if I can get their take on the term fur baby.
Yeah.
But then I did that one too much, and someone called me out for spamming. Like, all right, Kory Hubble, enough with the fur baby question. We get it. I was like, okay, I should probably slow down. I got too excited. It was a lot of fun. I love that they do that stuff. I don't know if that episode will ever see the light of day, if it was just a one-time event that was meant to happen in the confines of that members-only platform, or we got the benefit of doing it live and they'll release it like a regular episode. So we'll keep you posted, Middlers. It was a lot of fun.
What was there any other one or two maybe other questions other people asked that are worth mentioning, that their responses were worth mentioning?
That's just it. And when the person called me out for the fur baby thing, I said, listen, and I added him back. A lot of these comments and questions are dumb.
Yeah, people are stupid.
It was like, hey, from Sarasota, or like it was fine, but it wasn't like they wanted it to be social etiquette type stuff, ask questions. Pete and Sebastian would ask direct questions. Hey, do you guys like it more when we're in person in my studio? Or are you okay when Pete's at home in Fredonia and I'm here? And then people are like, hi from Detroit. And it's like, you're not.
What? Yeah.
They weren't engaging with the chat the way. And so I was like,
what's your favorite kind of mashed potato?
Yeah.
Yeah, stupid stuff like that.
Yeah, so, idiot
question. Another question they asked, which I thought was a great question. One of the things they hear when they're out doing material, when they're building their hour on the road is, yeah, we heard that on the podcast. And so Sebastian asked, okay, people in the chat, does it bother you if you hear a story on stage from Peter or I that we happen to already tell on the podcast? And having listened to a lot of comics talk about this, I said, your podcast should be a sandbox, a safe space to play with some material until you get it ready for your stage material. So they should almost be treated like two different things. It wouldn't bother me if I buy a ticket to come and see you in Columbus, that you told the same story that I heard when you were telling it to sort of get the other guy's reaction to see if it was worthy of making your set or not. Those should be two separate entities. And the guy goes, "That's dumb." My answer. And I was like, oh, anyway, people weren't engaging with the chat the way I thought they should.
There it is.
So I was like, to this person who said, enough with the fur baby question, I said, I'm trying to give them some really ripe softballs to react to. He's like, they're professional comedians. They don't need your help with getting content to react with. I'm like, I'm talking less about their professionalism and more about how poor people are engaging with this chat. Right?
Okay, Gary, both of those things can be true. I can give them good questions and they can also be professionals. Okay. Like both of those things can happen at the same time.
Anyway, it was really fun. I can't wait for you guys to hear it. It was a good time. Patreon's fun. I'm learning a lot about that platform.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like the right platform for us. We like to give content away for free. But I understand why some people use it, and we'll have like really cool exclusive episodes and things like that. All our stuff is just right there for people to go subscribe.
There is.
Like and comment, and all free.
100% of it. Yeah.
All free entertainment.
Yeah.
So
if they wanted to throw money at us, how might they do that?
I mean, it's since you asked, hit up our links and there's a tip jar, a little digital tip jar we can use to upgrade the podcast. Kory and Kendall really want to do the hot ones thing. And maybe if we got some tips, we could buy all the hot one sauces.
Holy heck, is it expensive to do that? Yeah.
I'll die by like the third hottest sauce. So if you want to see me die on YouTube, that would be another reason.
As long as it's on camera. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be, I priced it out. It's going to be about $115 to $125 just for the sauces. And then we got to buy chicken, and then we got to have the chicken relatively warm, and then we got to have 3 wings per sauce.
The thing is, I could bring an air fryer, so we could do the wings like very fresh in batches.
Okay,
there you go.
That's
the point. The point is to try the sauce, and my guess is once you get halfway through, you're not tasting chicken anymore. Anyway.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you could go get a decent, fresh or even like partially cooked frozen chicken wing that you need to you just need to throw some sauce on something and take a bite. So, that as an example would be a reason to use our tip jar.
Indeed.
I do want to do the hot ones thing. What are you guys up to?
Oh man, this slow burn of EA college football news is it's tickling my pickle, and I'm so excited for the game this summer. There's not even like a ton of news I could share because there's not a ton out. There was a trailer that was freaking great. Like it wasn't my own bias. Like it was legitimately a great teaser trailer. It's been confirmed. All 134 FBS teams will be in the game. So there's no holdouts. They were expecting approximately 11,000 athletes to have to sign off on their name, image, and likeness to be in the game. That they do through some portal, and anybody that's in the game gets $600 to be in the game and a free copy of the game. So that's their pay. In the first 24 hours, they had over 5,000 of the expected 11,000 sign that they want to be in the game. So that's pretty cool. They've got about a dozen players that are also going to be advertising the game, like from Ohio State. Denzel Burke is one that's going to be like also specifically helping market the game. I hope that means that the players that are helping market the game maybe get their own cover. That's been one of the question marks. I also like the idea. Some people have said put Nick Saban on the cover of this one since he just retired. That would be a cool cover for.
That would be cool. Yeah, I agree. They should do that.
I mean, like GOAT, right? Like, also I like the idea.
Right up there next to Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, yeah. I also think the other cool idea is for pre-orders, let people order with a player from their team. Like for like the top 25 or 30 most popular teams, like pick a player that you could get on the cover. I think that would be pretty cool. So if I wanted to pre-order it with like Denzel Burke as one of the guys, like let him be on the cover. So I don't know. Lots of like, there's so much discussion between the college football gaming nerds on the internet that it's so much fun. I just can't get over it. We'll share. I think we already did share the EA Sports commercial. If you're on YouTube, Kory's playing it now. I think we shared it in the From the Middle for the Middlers page. So go join that if you haven't already. Just literally go to YouTube and Google it, college football teaser trailer. It's freaking great. And really, really cool commercial. Loving the updates, loving the news. I just at this point, the biggest concern I think people have is they don't want to reskin Madden, and that's been confirmed by like a bunch of official people that this is not just reskin Madden. There's too many different types of playbooks. There's too many different teams. There's too much. There's too many differences between teams and styles of play to just have everyone have the same NFL playbook and feel like kind of the same NFL team. So, but the amount of detail that they're putting in for getting licensing for real songs that happen, the amount of detail on the play calling. So Chris Fowler was talking about recording clips, and he said, I even had to record audio for things that would never happen in case it happened because you guys make it happen, like punting on second down or a 71-yard field goal. He said, I had to make calls for those things and then react to them as if they could happen in the game, even though they probably never will. And so it's just freaking great, man. I'm so excited. I've like every little update on top of normal actual college football news, every little update for the game, I'm just more and more pumped. So
I love how self-aware the teaser was. It was like they were showing the tweets of like, yeah, we've heard this before. It's not real. And like
right.
it was very tongue-in-cheek and sort of picking on itself. I love that.
I could have probably almost teared up. They have the little stick ticker thing from like first to second down, second to third, third to fourth. When the dude, it says 14 on it and he clicks it and it goes to 25. Like I could have almost teared up when he did the little third down, fourth down ticker. Just because it's been literally a decade. So over a decade. So
well, now that the cockles of Dillon's heart are warmed.
There you go. Weight of my heart. So I'm planning now. I've literally I asked Bree the other day, I'm like, what time does Walmart open? She's like, why? I'm like, never mind. What time do you think Best Buy opens? She's like, I don't know why. I'm like, well, I gotta start planning if there's a midnight release of these games. If not, I gotta know where I can get it as early as possible in the morning. Do I pre-order it? Because I might have to pre-order it on like Amazon or Best Buy if there's not a midnight release. But if there's a midnight release, I want to do that first because that's the fastest way to get the game. And then I got to take like a week of vacation, of course, when the game comes out. So I have like a good week to settle in. That's got to be in there. Not to mention there's new teams in the game that have never been in the game before because they've moved from FCS to FBS. And I got to decide what dynasty I want to start first because I'm going to want to start a dynasty. And there's new teams in there that I've never played with.
I thought you were going to say you were going to try to schedule a vasectomy like guys do before March.
I was thinking the exact same thing. I was literally about to make that joke. That'll be vasectomy. That's vasectomy week, Dillon.
That'll be right when I need another full week off to play some more. I'll worry about that then. This will just be straight up vacation time. It's exciting. Have lots of groceries on hand. And order some DoorDash or food when I need it. But it's good. It feels like when we were younger, high school, college, and you did the midnight releases of games and you did the all-nighters. And I'm too old for that. So I'll go to bed at like 11:30 and then wake up in the morning at a reasonable time and play more. But it feels like those times again. Like I'm that excited for a game. Which is fun. I haven't had that in a long time.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty stoked.
One of the things that my wife tells our children regularly, and I will tell you now, is I'm excited that you're excited.
That's fine. Actually, it's funny that you say that because your wife loves college football so much. I said, I have an idea. I said, please don't immediately brush this off. I want to just listen till the end and then just think about it. I said, I think you should get a PS5. And I think you should play college football. I said, I think the scheduling and the recruiting and the picking, like the dynasty mode where you can keep playing season after season, you can play as a certain coordinator. I said, I think you would think that, I don't think she would play a lot, but I think she would think that all of that was fun.
For sure.
And I know she plays games and said, I don't write it off. I think you should think about it because I think it would be a lot of fun to just be able to do that. And I said, and then we could also play online just for funsies. We could play head to head. And so I'm going to try to talk Sherry into it. I know she won't.
I like where your head's at. Keep that up, sir.
But I'm going to try it. If there's a bonus PS5 in it for you, then so be it. But I'm going to try.
Kendall, what are you excited about these days? What's going on in your world, brother? Dude. Now that we're thinking more and more alike.
Now that we're thinking more and more alike. Yeah, no, Dillon, your excitement over incident, and it's been running for the entire length of this podcast. Like that's why for people who've been listening, like this is a big deal.
This isn't a new thing, like a new thing that I'm pretending to be into.
Right.
Just for like something to talk about.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like I've never, back in the original PlayStation days, I used to play the NHL game that would come out every year. And I had like 3 or 4 of those. I would get the new one every year. And that was fun, but I've never really played a sports game since then. And you have me like possibly jumping into it. Is it PlayStation only?
I think this one is going to be current. I think it's going to be PS5 and the new Xbox only. Okay. I don't think they're going backwards. I don't think they're going to Switch.
Okay.
I think PC is still a question mark.
Gotcha. Yeah. Right now, Switch is my only option. But which, by the way, so I have in recent years become a Metroid fan. And via Switch, which means that there's really only a couple games that one can play on a Switch. Everything else was designed for GameCube. But they're teasing now to a point where they're starting to say like maybe next year a Metroid Prime 4. And presumably that'll be available on Switch. Now, Metroid Prime is sort of like a series within the Metroid universe. There's been 4 of them, and the first one was relatively recently remastered for Switch. But they have yet to do 2 and 3, and which is confusing. And Nintendo like won't talk about it. And so there's a thought that maybe like Prime 4 is going to get slow rolled and they'll like slowly remaster 2 and then remaster 3 and then release 4. But I don't know. There was some Metroid news that made me happy.
Yeah. Well, if it gets delayed too long, they're gonna wait for a new Switch console and have a new game ready for that. You can always come over and play college football anytime. I would always enjoy company for playing games, so that's no big deal.
Hey.
But we'll see. In other news of a quick update, if you were a fan of the PlayStation 2 Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2, so not the ones that have been on PS4, they're re-releasing those for Switch and PlayStation and Xbox with some stuff that wasn't in the original games for everybody. And so those are coming out like within weeks. And I think it's Battlefront, Star Wars Battlefront Classic, the classic something. So for those fans, you can get back on Battlefront 1 and 2, the original Battlefront 1 and 2, and even play online, I think, with up to 64 players, which was not something you were going to be able to do on the PS2 back then. So pretty fun.
Sure.
Lots of fun gaming news. Is this an episode of Grief Burrito over here?
That's
here we are. They
don't miss those. I miss those boys.
Yeah.
Okay, so last night my family and I went to a Blue Jackets game.
Boom.
And so here's what's super cool. We went to like, this is maybe our like 8th or 9th game that we've been to as a family. And it all started in 2022. We tracked that back. to the first one that we had been to. And up until this year, we had yet to see the Blue Jackets win. Which isn't surprising to anybody who knows anything about hockey. The Blue Jackets had a couple of promising years, and then they just fell right back into same old. And this year, they're like literally the worst team in the Eastern Conference. So, but the first game we went to this year, we got to see them play the Ottawa Senators. And not only did we get to see a win for the first time as a family, but we got to see an overtime shootout win.
Nice.
Which was super exciting. And so then we went again last night, and we got these tickets free, and they were playing the New York Rangers, who is the hottest team in the NHL right now. They are on top, I think tied for second place in points, but like 10-game winning streak currently. Not a game that I would choose to go see. And wouldn't you know it, the team that broke the 10-game winning streak, the Columbus Blue Jackets last night.
Let's go.
Let's go. And I learned a couple of things, and I have an interesting question that popped up. Or a couple of interesting questions, maybe one thing that I learned, that New York Rangers fans are on my obnoxious list. I like the Rangers. They're an original six hockey team. I tend to root for the original six hockey teams. Being a Detroit Red Wings fan, primarily myself, there's sort of like this little ring of power that like we like each other, generally speaking.
There's mutual respect for the core six.
Exactly. We hate one another, but at the same time, like if I'm watching for like the day before, I'm watching the Rangers play on TV and I'm rooting for them in that game. And there were a lot of Rangers fans in Columbus for this hockey game. And I've seen the Red Wings and have rooted for the Red Wings in Columbus before. And I knew that like some of the nearby teams that have been around for a long time, they have a fan base. Like the hockey is different from other sports in that like there are rabid fan bases that are thick, but they're spotty over the course of the country. Like Michigan is one of those spots. Detroit is one of those teams. Those are people that will travel. Those are people who, when they transplant to another city, hang on to their old team. Those kinds of things. So, of course, a Detroit game in Columbus means a lot of Detroit fans are showing up. Not only are there a lot of people in Columbus rooting for Detroit, but there's a lot of people driving down from Michigan to go see that game. Same thing is true, apparently, of New York. There was a relatively high percentage of Rangers fans there. I did, in fact, like notice a bunch of New York license plates as we're parking. So I know that a bunch of them were driving. So that was new to me. That was odd to me. I had not yet been to a Blue Jackets game that wasn't a Red Wings game that had that, but there are so many of them that you could, when the game was over, like the barking that was happening from Rangers fans, unsolicited, was like, yeah, well, we're going to the playoffs. Like nobody said anything, dude. Like you can just leave now. Like just go. Like literally a whole group of Rangers fans get up. They're a few rows in front of us and they start walking back and they're like, oh, we'll see you guys in the playoffs. Never mind. Like doing that, like as they're walking out of this, and it's like, dude, your team is good. It's losing. They're gonna lose. Like that's why you're leaving like 2 minutes early. Like that's what's but whatever.
Wow.
It was funny, but obnoxious. And there's only been a couple of fan bases that I have put into my, yeah, you guys are obnoxious category, and the Rangers fans are now in that spot because of negative experience. There was one really good, really nice Rangers fan. I'm sure there were more, who was sitting right in front of me. He was an older guy, maybe in his 60s. And he was really nice. Me and him were talking all night. He knew what he was doing, knew what he was talking about. And he would turn around once in a while, say something funny. I would say something funny back. And then, but we spent a lot of time just kind of like talking about hockey or saying, "Hey, that was a little late." Yeah, I thought so too. Like that kind of thing. And he offers to like go buy me a drink at the concession stands. And I'm not a 25-year-old woman, so this has never happened to me before. And I told him, no, thank you. But like he like 4 or 5 times he shot that question at me. And I'm still turning him down. Is there is there an etiquette question here? Like, does it become rude at some point to keep denying the request? Obviously, he wasn't trying to pick me up, nothing like that. He was just trying to show, good sportsmanship.
Well, don't play it so fast and loose with the word obviously. Were you with your family?
I was with my family.
Okay.
My daughter's sitting right here next to me.
I'm teasing.
My wife just on the other side of her.
No, that's a great question, because if like you think, does he think I'm a teetotaler? Like I don't drink. And then he's
at one point he did clarify. He's like, I mean, or a soda if you want. Like,
okay.
He said that too.
Yeah.
And I still said no.
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question.
I don't know why I kept saying no. I just did. At one point, I did get up later and got myself a soda. Like because I have a routine. I do beer first, and then peanuts, and then soda. Like that's a sporting game. That's what I do.
Let me tell a story.
Yeah,
I've worked in retail. Most companies think very little of their retail employees. So little, in fact, you're supposed to refuse multiple times if people try to tip you, right? So if you carry something out for somebody, you're supposed to say no to tips multiple times. But even they say eventually it would be considered rude with some people if a patron is trying to tip you after 2 to 3 attempts and you continue to say no. And they really don't want their people being tipped. And so I would say at some point, maybe he might just be really like loaded. And he knows that, for most people, a free drink at a game goes a really long way for most Americans. He just wants to do a nice thing. It could be that he feels like if maybe he was there alone, he doesn't want to drink alone. So it's like if I'm sitting quote with somebody and we're drinking together, then that like makes him feel better. 4 or 5 times feels like a lot. I don't know that you did anything wrong, but I don't think it would have been wrong to say, okay, fine, yeah, you twisted my arm.
Yeah.
I'll take whatever you're having.
What was going through my head at the time was I want to try to avoid an etiquette dilemma. Yeah. Because if I say yes, then the entire rest of the night I'm thinking to myself, am I supposed to do something for him? And if so, what?
Sure.
Yeah. Like just buy the next round. Like what if he doesn't want one? What if I don't want one? Like what? So like that was going on in my head is like, so real time in Kendall's head, if he's thinking out loud, guy asks, I'm heading up to the concession stands. Do you want me to get you a beer? And my head immediately starts thinking, I don't have the mental capacity for this.
Yeah. You could, one thing you could do in that situation, it's a little different too, because your family's there, which is a whole other thing. But you could have said, that'd be fine if you wanted one. Let me know what I owe you. Let me know what a beer costs. And then he could have said, oh, no. That's on me. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Or he might have said, no, don't worry about it. You get the next one. And then you know what the expectation is. Or he might have said, yeah, sure, I'll let you know how much they are. At least then you'd know. So that would have been like your easy something to throw out there. I know you wouldn't do this, but it would have been funny if you said, that's very kind. I'll have a beer and I'll need 3 sodas and 4 popcorns. What else do you kids want? And then you could have really run up the tab on him.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah.
I'm with Dillon. I don't think you did anything wrong. My question to you, and you answered it, I think, was going to be why. And you said at first you weren't really sure why you were saying no. You were just like, no. And then I love that you were like, I just want to enjoy the game, and me having to spend the rest of the periods thinking about whether or not I owe you one back is not how I want to spend my
Exactly.
mental juices.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. That's the way my mind thinks. Like, I don't want to have to think about this. So no,
That's fair.
I wish you wouldn't have asked me that. Gosh.
Yeah, and now you're like, I can't even get up to go pee because if he thinks I'm going to get a beer and then don't offer, then I look like the rude one for not going, hey, I'm getting up. Do you need anything?
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, so I learned a lot of things in that game. Oh, I also learned about there's a difference between going to a hockey game in your 20s and going to a hockey game in your 40s. And that difference is you find yourself somewhat disappointed and angry because your team couldn't score the empty net goal in the third period, where you otherwise hadn't scored any goals in the third period, because one of the local car wash companies has a promotion that says if the Blue Jackets score in the third period, every person in the stands gets a free car wash. And I was upset that I didn't get a free car wash.
No.
We're coming out of winter. So these are valuable car washes, people.
I literally, like, the day before was, or was it that the day of? I don't remember. No, the day of was driving my wife's car, was going to get it washed, and thought to myself, wait, at the hockey games they do that thing. I'm not going to pay for a car wash.
Hold on.
We're going to go to the game. We're going to earn a car wash.
Yeah.
And didn't happen. That's not something I thought about in my 20s.
Car wash, schmar wash. My car's not nice enough to need washing. While we ponder the social etiquette of refusing free drinks, we're going to take a break and hear from some of our friends in Odd Pods Media.
We interrupt this program to bring you a news blast.
Michael Jackson's ghost seen at a Yankees game.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch, now with a shrimp in every bite.
Lil Uzi Vert's head diamond has been sold on the dark web.
Stories like this and more can be found at the Ever Trending Story, a podcast where we peruse the news and write a fun fictional story for you.
Find us wherever you download podcasts and follow us on the socials at Ever Trending Pod, and we are proud members of the Odd Pods Media Network.
Did I surprise you guys by using the note?
So good.
Every once in a while, I throw a couple on there.
Yeah.
I love it.
Just to try to make you guys proud of me.
Please open with that. That was a great coming out of the break thing. So we talked about a bunch of episodes back how much I loved the Netflix series Love on the Spectrum. We talked about the Australian season or two that was on. If you're unfamiliar with the concept, this show follows people on the autism spectrum who want to find love, typically young people, although one of our favorite characters, Dillon and I, is a 65-year-old guy who's the bees and knees. Steve is great. Well, anyway, a year or two ago, they came out with an American version, and season 2 of that show launched in January, and I binged that with Sherry. And there are two, I don't want to say characters, there are two new people on the show that I am absolutely obsessed with, Connor and Tanner. And some family was watching the show as well. We were talking about how much we loved Connor and Tanner. The world is now talking about how much they love Connor and Tanner. So out of the gate, just go watch Love on the Spectrum. It's such a wholesome, beautiful, positive, joy-filled, wonderful, honest, authentic show. And the characters can't be false. They can't lie. They can't be this. They don't know how. That's part of the beauty of it. I wish the whole world dated and did relationships like the beautiful people in that show do relationships. So and then I learned, go ahead.
They're not characters because it's not a scripted show.
Yes, sorry.
It's a reality
show. I know I keep saying characters.
It's just human beings being recorded.
So they're beautiful people. I love the show. It's wonderful. The Australian one was great. The American one is great. Shout out to the production team that's doing that. I then learned that Connor has a YouTube channel started by his mom, Lise, and Lise takes Connor to work every day at Kroger, where his job is to take care of the parking lot, make sure that the carts are put in the corral and that there's no trash. And so they have a 15-minute commute to his job. And God love her, she's always late, which for a person with autism is infuriating. And so they start almost every episode fighting because the mom has made Connor late and he's already worked up. And they have about a 12 to 15-minute commute, and they just record the commute. And it is some of the best content that I've seen in a really long time. Lise, I think, sort of gets him going a little bit, but Connor is so brilliant, and he is a fountain of historical knowledge, especially around medieval times and fantasy genre type things. He loves a show that's on Netflix called The Dragon Prince, and he talks about it a lot, but then he talks about medieval weaponry, and he collects swords, and he's just so fun. And then I watched 2 years worth of car rides with Connor. And the fun thing about that is they started this channel before they even knew about the show Love on the Spectrum. They're still recording episodes when they find out that the producers have reached out to him to potentially be on season 2 of Love on the Spectrum.
Nice.
They're recording episodes where they're like, well, today's the day we record. Then they have to kind of be quiet and wait till the show actually comes out. So then you get to see how their world turns upside down, because the world is now in love with Connor. And he's gone from almost no viewers on their YouTube channel, Car Rides with Connor, to people like me who were binging all the way through it. So it was just a wonderful deep dive into the life of Connor. And I have actually reached out to Tanner's mom and Connor's mom. Both have responded. Both are interested in them and their sons, or just their sons, coming onto our show. And I couldn't be more excited. They have to clear it with Netflix publicity first, because they want to make sure that since the show is still hot and people are still excited about it, that they don't say things they shouldn't, which we understand. But we're trying to make it happen, people. And if it does, it's going to be wonderful. Which leads me to a question. You guys know this about me. I am very impressionable, and I love to deep dive things. So Dillon was just talking in the first half of the episode about a video game he has enjoyed since the early aughts. I have things that I have consistently loved over the course of my life. And I also go down these very long rabbity trails. And I don't know what that is. And I'm not trying to turn this into a therapy session, but I just think about the fact that I'm drinking a liquid death over here, which I saw on a podcast. I ended up buying some of these dumb noms all the way from Hawaii because Kalila and Bobby were talking about them on Tiger Belly. So I was like, I got to have some. What is that? Why do I do that? What's going on?
Marketing managers know your soul, Kory. That's why.
When people, here's what it is. There's a difference, I think, I hope, between gullible and impressionable. That's the first thing I'll say.
Okay.
And it's not everything that gets thrown my way do I bite hook, line, and sinker. But when people I like something, then I'm all about it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that is.
I don't think you don't like feeling left out on something, like on a joke or on something that could be really good or really cool. And so, like you said, if it's somebody that you respect or enjoy and they're talking about it, you want to feel in on the thing. Like, well, now I've got to try it, because if they like it and I like them, there's a high chance that I'm going to like it. And for me, I don't want to waste my money on things that I just go like this and try to, randomly find a product that I like. So I would much prefer somebody that I know and trust say, hey, you should really check out this, because this is way better than that version or the other version, because this one is the best. And that's a lot of why we talk about food that we like and movies and shows that we enjoy, because I think if anyone listens to this and they've gotten to know us, they're like, oh, I relate most closely to Kendall. And if Kendall likes that, I'm probably going to love it.
Case in point, so a Midler reached out and hit us up in our DMs this past week and said, I'm coming to Columbus with some family. I want to go to a pizza place. What do you all, i.e. Kendall, because he's a pizza connoisseur of Columbus, what would you recommend in this part of town? And Kendall was like, well, here's what I've heard is good, and here's what the pizza connoisseurs of Columbus are saying. So I would recommend this. So that carries more weight than a generic, hey, come to our pizza spot commercial. So let's take it off of products and go back to the example of the tiers of started with Love on the Spectrum season 2, fell in love with the character, watched his YouTube channel, reached out to his mom on Instagram to get them on our podcast as a guest. Yeah. And now I'm watching The Dragon Prince on Netflix because Connor likes The Dragon Prince on Netflix. What is that? I think.
Do you like The Dragon Prince on Netflix?
It's fine. Part of it's like the fun adventure of like just following it's almost like bonus content in a way.
Right. Sure. If you like something, why wouldn't you want more of it? And
yeah, so I think that's it.
I finished Dune. I really liked it. I went from not watching any of it to really wanting to see the second one. And I really want to see this one in theaters now because I like the world building that they did. And I want to see more of the world that they've constructed. And I just want to see more of the thing that I like. And I think that's why we go back and watch shows, because if you can't get new of an old thing, you can go to the old thing and rewatch the old thing or redo the old thing and get more of it that way.
Yeah.
So I think you just want more of a good thing.
That makes me feel less crazy. Thanks. Well, Kendall hasn't spoken yet, so I'll tamper my.
I'm also just making myself feel better with my Lego buying habits. So,
yeah, my general role on this podcast is to knock you guys down a little bit.
Yeah, especially Kory.
Did you just say especially? never.
Yes.
My wife corrected me today. I was interchanging the words reward and award. And that hit me on the inside a little bit. But anyway, no, I think I agree with Dillon. I think that there's this idea out there.
There was so much surprise in here. I think I agree with Dillon.
I've got to double check it first.
Bound to happen once in 243 episodes.
Let me think about it out loud for a second.
As long as we're not talking about inflation.
Well, no, that conversation caused me to go read up more about it. And I realized, I don't remember exactly what they were, but realized that I was making some wrong assumptions about what Dillon was saying. I didn't exactly understand what Dillon was saying. I'll just put it that way. I apologize, Dillon.
We all learn.
I do think that we differ a little bit on what maybe shouldn't be done, but I think that we would pretty much agree on the problem.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, I think that there's this idea out there that people are willing to buy things that they see certain celebrities have. And there's this psychological idea out there, not from psychologists necessarily, just from society in general, or maybe from marketers. Maybe it's a real thing where people are trying to like be more like this person or that person. And so that there's that whole sort of like baseline idea of people want to be that guy. We're going to put this drink in that guy's hand. That way people who want to be him are going to get it. I don't think that's what you're doing. That's not in your character to do that. I don't think.
I doesn't feel that way. So thank you.
Yeah. I think possibly an even more powerful marketing tactic, which looks probably identical. And this is why I think people like to tear other people down by just saying, you're only drinking liquid death because Joe Rogan said something about it or whatever. It's I think it's more along the lines of what Dillon said, that that you don't want to miss out on a good thing. And you have this positive assumption that if that person, like, whom I like and respect, and by the way, like, especially in podcast form, have in a way gotten to know this person a little bit.
That's
like,
true. Yeah.
Like, so there is, as weird as it sounds, an element of trust involved. And so you get to know their character. You get to know the kinds of things they eat and drink, the kinds of things that they do, the kinds of shows that they like to watch, whatever it is. And you can see which characteristics of them, not necessarily all of their characteristics, but you can see which ones kind of line up with your experiences a little bit.
Yeah.
And so you're like, you know what? I like skull cans, and I'm willing to pay something to drink out of a can. It's better for the environment, right? To drink out of a tin can than it is out of a plastic bottle. So if you're going to go the disposable container on water route, Liquid Death is a better option than Dasani or Avion. So there is that. I think that that's more along the lines that you're.
I think that's true, and I'm also not willing. I'm also willing to be truthful about whether or not the thing that was recommended was good or not. I don't go like, like, so that would be a point for the second reason, as opposed to just, I want to be the type of guy seen with this product or service.
Yeah, that's a good way to
like,
say it.
Oh, I think I would like to try a bidet, and I don't know anything about bidets, but 4 podcasts are talking about this tushy thing. Let me tell you about noms.
Does the bidet come complimentary with the hotel?
Noms are gummies that are hand tossed in 2 different types of dusting materials. Lai Hing, which is like a plum, I think.
Okay.
It's a very popular in Hawaiian cuisine, and lemon peel. It's a very unique taste. Kind of like when we were talking about those fruit bars that had the tahine in them, and you're like, whoa, that does not taste like anything I've had before. These are just regular gummies, but then because they're hand mixed in these different, Lai Hing is an acquired taste, I have learned, and I do not love them, but I tried them because I heard they were great.
From Bobby Lee,
who we're like buddies now, him and I. Anyway, what do you guys stream? So that's a long way of saying, go watch Love on the Spectrum season 2, and go watch Car Rides with Connor on YouTube. That is so fun. And you'd think, how great could it be? It's just a mom taking her kid to work every day. But when you meet Connor, you'll understand why. Anyway, enough from me.
Well, this show is just Kendall as the mom taking his 2 kids to school every day. It's basically the same premise.
Literally and metaphorically taking us to school.
Yep, it's true. Did you ask what I'm watching?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
My nose is so red in this camera today. I don't know. I'm very rarely self-conscious, but I'm like, and I'm drinking water. I'm not having anything else. I don't know what's happening. So subscribe to YouTube, but ignore this episode. Watching. So, Kendall, I have got to revisit an episode, a couple episodes back. Kory was out of town. You remember we were talking about award shows, and
not reward shows.
Not reward shows.
Okay.
No, I mean it is, but it's not. But we were talking about award shows needing to be streamed.
Yeah.
So, like, if CBS is putting on an award show, why would it not also be on Paramount Plus? Right. Or if there's an award show on ABC, why would it not also be on Disney Plus? Well, not exactly the same situation, but kind of close. Did you guys see that the SAG Awards were on Netflix?
Wonderful.
With no commercials. And you can go watch it right now, the whole thing, with the dresses and the runway red carpet before and the whole program. And because there was no commercials, the actual award show was like 2 hours and 15 minutes or something.
That's
it
glorious.
Wasn't 4.5 hours. So I watched the SAG Awards, and it aired live.
Wow.
And I watched it, and it was really good. As we've talked about many times, we are not a Hollywood worship show, but we all like movies and TV. And it's a great way to see some clips and hear some actors talk about the work that they've done. And it gives us things that we want to go watch. And I knew, as an example, Flowers of the Killer Moon or Killers of the Flower Moon or whatever that
whatever, Killer Flower
I
Moons,
knew that was going to be up
Mooners
for
of the Killer Flowers.
it was going to be up for a bunch of awards. And so that made me want to go watch it and try something I wouldn't normally watch. Anyways, since SAG Awards was really good, I got to see some more things that I want to go see now because I watched the award show. That was a ton of fun. But I thought it was a great segue from our conversation about like, why the heck aren't these award shows on the most popular streaming services or at minimum YouTube with commercials, right?
Right.
Like, why not there? But it was so nice to see. Now, I doubt that the Oscars would go to Netflix. I don't know why. I think that's too big. But enough of this. I want to watch the Oscars, and the only way to do it is on over the air on an antenna on ABC across 4.5 hours with commercials. That whole thing needs to go. So it was such a nice, warm welcome. No, that's not it. It was a welcome, whatever that phrase is. I'm blanking. It was nice to see that it was on Netflix. That's what
a good change of pace, maybe.
A good change of pace. It was a welcome change.
That's
what I was trying to say. It was a welcome change to see it on Netflix. So I didn't know if you guys saw that, but you can check it out. It's easy to skip through because there's no commercials if you just want to see certain things. And so that's one of the things I'm watching. Also, Players on Netflix. A pretty predictable rom-com, but if you like that and you're in the mood, go for it. It's nice. It was nice to watch. And then Dumb Money. If you're not familiar with Dumb Money, the premise of that is the Titanic clash on Wall Street between a bunch of individual investors of GameStop and hedge funds. It's a couple of years ago.
Oh, that's such a good story.
Man, what an interesting movie that was. And I was watching it unfold on Reddit. I wasn't participating, I wasn't investing, but I remember all these comments and all this stuff back and forth. And it is wild. So if you want to see like kind of a wild, kind of like when people talk about The Big Short and stuff, that movie and like 2000
Wolf of Wall Street,
Wolf of Wall Street, some of the financial crisis and like based on real events and what happened, man, check out Dumb Money on Netflix. So a couple of things I've been watching.
Wonderful. So for me this week, I think it's all about WWE. Once again, I had the opportunity to watch a pay-per-view, thanks to the contract with Peacock, and Elimination Chamber was this past weekend, and man, I love 12-year-old me is so happy that like I got to watch all of the lead up, and I didn't have to wait until the following Monday to see whatever highlights they were going to decide to show me on network TV. Like it's so cool to just get to watch it. It was like 3 hours long, only 4 matches, but 4 amazing matches.
Nice.
And Elimination Chamber is sort of like the last major stop before WrestleMania happens. So it's just all about Raw and SmackDown until then. And but we have our main events, our matches set in stone now for WrestleMania. So you had one of my favorite wrestlers, and I like to put the qualifier on there, not like my favorite female wrestler, just one of my favorite wrestlers, Becky Lynch, the man. She won the women's Elimination Chamber match, which for those who don't know, probably aren't that interested. Basically, it's like a handful of women got into a ring at various times and they fought each other. Last woman standing wins. Becky Lynch won, and so she'll be heading off to fight Rhea Ripley, who that was the closing match, was a title match. Rhea Ripley, who is the holder, against Nia Jax, who everybody hates in real life. and she's injured too many too many other wrestlers. People tend to not like Nia Jax.
Ripley had quite the come up from NXT. I mean, she got really popular there quickly. She blew up there quickly, and it seems like she's really well received in WWE.
Yes, I mean she's a heel, so she did it like that way,
right?
But I mean, as quick as Becky Lynch herself, and so and now it's like it'll be the two of them, and it's going to be probably the biggest women's match. I mean, women's wrestling is still hasn't peaked yet, so it's probably safe to say it's going to be one of the best women's matches on record. He had a tag team champion match where the Judgment Day, which is a heel group, retained their title. Rhea Ripley is part of the Judgment Day. She is the lone female on the otherwise male group. And then Drew McIntyre won the men's elimination chamber. And so he's going to go on to fight Seth Rollins at WrestleMania, which would be great. Drew McIntyre has been an interesting character. He's had an interesting storyline over the course of the past year or two. So he has been on the road to turning heel as well now. So he's not liked by most.
He kind of vacillated between babyface and heel there for a little bit.
Yeah. He was sort of like the bad guy that would like still like come in and vigilante justice the joint, and people appreciated that. And
with that big old boot of his,
the Claymore.
The Claymore, yeah.
He doesn't carry a sword anymore. That's something that changed.
You'd like him, Dillon. He's a big old Scottish dude.
Big old actual Scottish dude. Bagpipes play when he's on his way out. Up until I don't know when it stopped. Like I went on my hiatus where I didn't have Hulu, and so I wasn't watching WWE. And he was carrying a sword with him, and he would sheath the sword like in the corner at every match. He doesn't have the sword anymore. I don't know. There's nothing else really that's changed about his outfit or anything. I miss the sword.
So does Connor Tomlinson, I'm sure.
I've got a few extra. I can send him some.
Well, speaking of products that our favorite people love, if Becky Lynch sold beard products, we would buy them. And where those beard products would come from, no doubt, would be Artiest Man.
She is the man.
Like she is the man, so she knows something or two.
One of the funniest heel jokes to Seth Rollins that I have heard was somebody telling him, "You're not even the man in your own house." And I appreciated that. Anyway, sorry.
No, you're good. So if the man recommends Artiest Man, we'll buy it. We buy it anyway, and you should too. Amazing men's grooming products. Go to artiestman.com, ARTIUSMAN.com. Use promo code The Middle. That's The Middle, all one word. In that promo field drop-downy thing, all caps, all one word, The Middle. Get 25% off of your first order, no matter how much it is. That's amazing. You'll be glad you did, because their grooming products are amazing. They smell good. They're made right here in Central Ohio with all natural products, and they smell great. So check them out. We sure like them. And this has been a fun episode, catching up, talking a little bit about a bunch of different things, and hanging out with these two is one of the highlights of my week. And I hope it is for you as well. Tune in next week. Episodes drop every Wednesday morning. Peace.
Adios.